The ferry left the mainland just before sunset, gliding over a sea so calm it looked like polished glass. Behind it, the noise of highways, ringing phones, crowded sidewalks, and busy schedules slowly disappeared into the evening mist. Ahead waited an island that almost no one talked about. It wasn't famous, it wasn't marked in travel magazines. Most maps barely gave it a name. The locals simply called it Stillwater Isle, though some older fishermen whispered another name, the island where time forgot to rush. No one seemed entirely sure where the saying came from. Some believed the clocks behaved strangely there. Others insisted it was simply the people who had learned something the rest of the world had forgotten. Either way, visitors rarely stayed for only a day. Some remained for weeks. Others quietly returned every year, never explaining why, and a few never seemed eager to leave at all. As the ferry drifted closer, the island slowly revealed itself. White cottages rested along gentle green hills. Wildflowers danced beside narrow stone paths. Small fishing boats rocked lazily in the harbor, tied to wooden docks weathered by generations of salt and sea wind. There were no skyscrapers, no traffic lights, no glowing billboards, no rushing crowds, only the distant cry of seabirds and the steady rhythm of waves brushing against ancient rocks. The air itself felt different, cool, soft, almost slower. Emma stood quietly at the front of the ferry, watching the island grow larger. She had spent the last 12 years working in New York City. Every morning began with alarms. Every afternoon disappeared beneath meetings. Every evening ended with unanswered emails and tomorrow's endless list of responsibilities. Even vacations had become schedules, museums before lunch, restaurants by reservation, photos uploaded before sunset. She could hardly remember the last day she had simply existed. When an old college friend mailed her a handwritten postcard with only one sentence, "If life feels too fast, come find the island where nobody hurries," Emma almost laughed, yet something about those words stayed with her. 3 months later, she had booked the ferry, not because she expected miracles, but because she was exhausted. The captain lowered the gangway with practiced ease. "Welcome," he said with an easy smile. "No need to rush." Emma noticed something unusual. No one hurried off the boat. The passengers simply waited. One person helped another with a suitcase. An elderly woman paused to admire the sunset before taking her first step onto the dock. A child sat cross-legged watching tiny fish swim beneath the pier instead of running ahead. No one seemed impatient. No one checked their watch. Emma instinctively reached for her phone. No signal. She frowned. The captain noticed. "Happens to everyone." "When does the signal come back?" she asked. He chuckled softly. "Eventually." Then he tipped his cap and walked away. It wasn't an answer, yet somehow it felt like one. The harbor smelled of cedar wood, fresh bread, and salty ocean air. An elderly baker carried warm loaves through the square. 2 fishermen quietly repaired their nets while talking about tomorrow's tide. A black and white cat stretched beneath a weathered bench before lazily falling asleep again. Everything seemed perfectly ordinary, and yet perfectly different. Emma followed a small stone road toward the village inn. Its wooden sign gently swayed in the evening breeze. The Slow Gull Inn. Inside, soft yellow lanterns glowed against polished wooden walls. A fireplace crackled despite the mild weather. Behind the counter stood an elderly woman with silver hair tied neatly beneath a blue scarf. "You must be Emma." Emma blinked. "I don't think we've met." The woman smiled. "We haven't. You wrote me?" "No." The ferry captain called ahead. "No." Emma laughed nervously. "Then how did you know?" The woman simply handed her a brass room key. Most people who arrive here are expected. It was such an unusual sentence that Emma forgot to ask another question. Her room overlooked the sea. The window stood open. Fresh evening air carried the scent of pine trees and distant tides. On the bedside table rested a tiny handwritten note. There was no signature, only 5 simple words. "Sleep well. Tomorrow arrives slowly here." Emma smiled. For the first time in years, she turned off her phone without hesitation. Outside, somewhere beyond the quiet harbor, waves continued their endless conversation with the shore. Above them, thousands of stars slowly appeared, brighter than she had ever seen from the city. And as sleep gently settled over Stillwater Isle, the island kept its oldest secret. Tomorrow would come, but not in quite the same way it did everywhere else. Emma woke not to the shrill cry of an alarm clock, but to the gentle sound of waves brushing against the harbor wall. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then she noticed the sunlight. It streamed softly through the lace curtains, painting slow-moving patterns across the wooden floor. Dust floated lazily in the golden beams, as though even the tiny particles in the air had nowhere important to be. She reached for her phone out of habit. Still no signal. No emails, no notifications, no calendar reminders demanding her attention. The silence felt unfamiliar, then surprisingly comfortable. She dressed slowly and stepped outside. The village was already awake, but not in the way cities woke. No engines roared, no horns echoed, no crowds rushed toward offices. Instead, an old man swept his front porch with slow, steady strokes, pausing every few minutes to admire the flowers growing beside his fence. A woman arranged baskets of peaches outside a small market, humming a tune older than anyone could remember. Children wandered toward a tiny schoolhouse, laughing as they stopped every few steps to collect smooth seashells from the roadside. No one seemed worried about being late. Emma checked the large clock mounted above the village square. It read 8:15. A few minutes later, she glanced again. Still 8:15. She frowned. Perhaps the clock was broken. Then she noticed something even stranger. No one else looked at it, not once. At the corner bakery, the warm scent of cinnamon and fresh bread drifted into the street. A small wooden sign simply read, "Fresh bread, whenever it's ready." Emma smiled. Inside, the elderly baker greeted her warmly. "First morning?" She nodded. "I've never slept so well." He handed her a warm loaf wrapped in linen. "That happens." "What's in the bread?" He laughed. "Mostly flour." "And patience." She left too. Outside, she sat on a weathered bench overlooking the harbor. The bread was still warm enough to release tiny curls of steam when she tore it apart. It was the simplest breakfast she had eaten in years, and somehow, one of the best. As she watched the fishing boats drift gently with the tide, an elderly fisherman approached carrying 2 wooden buckets. His beard was white as sea foam, and his eyes sparkled with quiet kindness. "You must be Emma." She blinked. "Everyone seems to know my name." He smiled. "The island listens." She wasn't sure whether he was joking. Before she could ask another question, he pointed toward the sea. "Do you notice anything?" Emma looked carefully. The waves rolled gently toward shore. Seagulls floated overhead. Fishing boats rocked peacefully. Everything appeared normal. "I don't." "Exactly." She looked at him, puzzled. He nodded. Most visitors arrive expecting something magical. They spend all day searching for strange things. They rarely notice the ordinary. He dipped one hand into a bucket, releasing several tiny silver fish back into the water. The island doesn't change the world. It changes how long you're willing to look at it. Emma watched the fish disappear beneath the surface. For reasons she couldn't explain, his words stayed with her. After breakfast, she wandered through the village without any destination. There were no souvenir shops selling plastic trinkets, no loud advertisements, no giant maps directing tourists toward attractions. Instead, every street seemed to invite wandering. A narrow stone path led towards a hill covered in lavender. Another disappeared into a quiet pine forest. A third followed the shoreline, where smooth gray stones stretched endlessly beside the sea. Emma chose the shoreline. She walked slowly, very slowly. Soon, she noticed things she normally would have missed. Tiny crabs darting between rocks, a feather floating across the sand, the distant sound of a lighthouse bell carried by the wind, the scent of salt mixing with blooming wildflowers, the rhythm of her own breathing. She couldn't remember the last time she had actually listened to it. Near noon, she reached a small wooden pier where a single man sat fishing. He appeared to be at least 80 years old. His fishing rod barely moved. Neither did he. Waiting politely before speaking, Emma said, "Any luck?" Without taking his eyes from the water, he smiled. "I'm not fishing." She looked at the rod. "You're not?" "No, I'm keeping the fish company." Emma couldn't help laughing. He finally turned toward her. "You laugh now, but someday you'll understand." There was no sarcasm in his voice, only quiet certainty. After several peaceful minutes, he gently reeled in his empty line. Not disappointed, not excited, simply finished. He stood, tipped his hat, and walked away without another word. Emma watched him disappear down the path. She realized something remarkable. He had spent nearly an hour beside the water without trying to accomplish anything, and somehow it hadn't been a waste of time. That afternoon, clouds drifted lazily across the sky. The village square grew quieter. Some people read books beneath old oak trees, others painted. Some simply sat together in silence. No one seemed uncomfortable with doing nothing. Emma found herself sitting beneath a large maple tree. She leaned against its rough bark and closed her eyes. The breeze carried distant laughter. Leaves whispered softly overhead. Somewhere nearby, a wind chime sang a slow melody. Minutes, or perhaps hours, passed. She honestly couldn't tell. For the first time in years, she wasn't measuring the day. She was simply living it. As evening approached, the golden light stretched across the harbor. The same ferry that had brought her yesterday quietly departed for the mainland. Emma watched it disappear beyond the horizon. She expected to feel isolated. Instead, she felt strangely relieved. Back at the inn, the silver-haired innkeeper greeted her with a knowing smile. "So, how was your first real day?" Emma searched for the right words. "I don't think anything happened." The woman smiled even wider. "Oh, then the island has already begun." Emma looked puzzled. "What do you mean?" The innkeeper gently lit another lantern. "Most places teach us to fill every hour. Our island teaches something much harder." Emma waited. The woman looked toward the fading sunset. How to leave a little space for wonder. Outside, twilight settled slowly over Stillwater Isle. The sea reflected the first evening stars, and somewhere beyond the quiet cliffs, something ancient was already waiting for Emma, not to surprise her, not to frighten her, but to invite her into a mystery that could never be rushed. The next morning arrived wrapped in a soft blanket of sea mist. From her window, Emma could barely see the harbor. The fishing boats appeared only as gentle shadows drifting across silver water, their bells ringing faintly through the fog. It felt as though the entire island had decided to weep one careful breath at a time. She smiled. For the second day in a row, she had awakened before the sun climbed high into the sky, not because she had somewhere to be, but because she genuinely wanted to see what the morning would become. After breakfast, the innkeeper placed a folded piece of paper beside Emma's teacup. "There is someone I'd like you to meet." Emma unfolded it. Written in elegant handwriting were only a few words. "Follow the hill behind the lighthouse. Listen for the ticking." She looked up. "The ticking?" The innkeeper only smiled. "You'll know it when you hear it." The path behind the lighthouse wound gently uphill through tall grass sprinkled with tiny blue flowers. The sea stretched endlessly below, its surface sparkling beneath the growing morning sun. Emma walked slowly, stopping every so often to admire butterflies drifting between the wildflowers. Then she heard it. Tick, tick, tick. It was almost too soft to notice. Not loud like the ticking of a wristwatch, gentler, slower, like the heartbeat of an old wooden house. The sound led her toward a tiny cottage hidden beneath towering oak trees. Its walls were built from gray stone. Its roof was covered with moss. Vines climbed around its windows, where dozens of tiny clocks rested on wooden shelves. Some were round, others square. Some had brass faces polished to a golden shine. Others looked centuries old. None of them showed the same time. Emma knocked gently. A voice answered almost immediately. "The door isn't locked." Inside, hundreds of clocks quietly ticked together. Large grandfather clocks, pocket watches, ship chronometers, mantle clocks carved from walnut, tiny cuckoo clocks that remained perfectly silent. The room should have sounded chaotic. Instead, it felt peaceful. Each clock seemed to keep its own gentle rhythm, yet together they created something strangely comforting. Standing at a workbench was an elderly man wearing round spectacles. His white hair curled beneath a faded wool cap. Tiny gears, springs, and brass screws lay scattered across the table before him. Without looking up, he smiled. "You must be Emma." She laughed softly. "I'm beginning to think everyone here already knows me." "Not everyone." He adjusted a tiny spring with remarkable care. "Only the people you were meant to meet." "You repair clocks?" Emma asked. The old man nodded. "I used to." She glanced around the workshop. There are hundreds. And yet, he looked around thoughtfully. "I haven't repaired one in nearly 15 years. Emma frowned. "Why not?" He finally looked up. "Because they stopped needing me." She blinked. "Clocks stop working all the time." "Yes, but people stopped asking them to hurry." Emma wasn't sure she understood. The old man motioned toward an old wooden chair. "Sit." She did. He picked up a beautiful brass pocket watch and placed it gently into her hands. It felt surprisingly heavy. "This belonged to my grandfather." Emma admired its intricate engraving. "It still works?" "It could, but I never wind it." She looked at him curiously. "Wouldn't you rather know the time?" He smiled. "I already know enough." The old clockmaker poured 2 cups of tea. Outside, birds sang from the branches overhead. Inside, the clocks continued their quiet chorus. "When I was young, everyone wanted faster clocks. Why? So they could work harder, travel farther, earn more, do more." He stirred his tea slowly. "So I built better clocks, very accurate ones, the best I had ever made." He paused. "And then I noticed something." Emma leaned forward. "What?" "The more accurate the clocks became, the less peaceful the people seemed." Silence settled gently between them. "I watched parents hurry their children. I watched neighbors stop talking because they were late. I watched people eat meals without tasting them. They measured every minute, but forgot to measure joy." Emma looked around the room again. Every clock ticked differently. None appeared rushed. None seemed anxious. The old man noticed her watching. "Would you like to know a secret?" She nodded. He smiled. "Not one clock in this room agrees with another." Emma laughed. "Isn't that a problem?" "For sailors, yes. For ordinary life," he gently shook his head. "Not at all." He invited Emma into a second room. It was even more unusual. Instead of clocks, the shelves held jars, each one carefully labeled. Emma stepped closer. One read, "The first snowfall of 1987. Another, "An afternoon spent fishing with my father." Another, "The smell of my mother's apple pie." Another simply said, "The longest sunset I ever watched." Emma looked inside. The jars were empty, or so they appeared. "What are these?" The old man smiled. "My collection." "But there's nothing in them." "Oh," he chuckled, "they're full. With memories." Emma was puzzled. "I don't understand." He picked up a small jar. "When people remember a beautiful moment, they often say, 'I wish I could keep this forever.' So I do." He carefully returned it to the shelf. "Not inside the glass." He touched his chest. "Inside here." Emma smiled. "So the labels remind you?" "No, they remind me to remember." Hours passed unnoticed. They spoke about childhood, books, the sea, storms, old songs, lost friends, favorite seasons. Not once did either of them glance at a clock. As Emma prepared to leave, the old clockmaker handed her a tiny brass compass. It wasn't polished, its edges were worn smooth with age. "This isn't a compass," she said after looking closely. "There isn't even a needle." "I know," he smiled. "So what does it do?" "It reminds people." "Of what?" He gently opened the cottage door. "That not every journey needs directions." Emma walked back toward the village beneath the warm afternoon sun. The empty compass rested comfortably in her pocket. She kept reaching for it without realizing why. Not because it could tell her where to go, but because it reminded her she didn't always have to know. As the lighthouse came into view, she noticed something she hadn't seen before. Its enormous clock had no numbers, only a single golden hand moving almost too slowly to notice. She stood there for several moments, or perhaps simply being watched. Far above, an old gull circled silently through the endless blue sky, and somewhere beyond the western cliffs, where the island met the open sea, there was another place, a place few visitors ever found, a place where, according to island legend, Even memories sometimes lingered longer than time itself. The following morning, Emma noticed something unusual before she had even left her room. The air smelled different, not just of salt and pine. There was lavender, fresh rain, warm apples, blooming roses, and something sweet she couldn't quite name. She opened the window. The breeze carried all the scents together, as though the seasons themselves had decided to share the same morning. Curious, she hurried downstairs. The innkeeper was placing wildflowers into a glass vase. Without looking up, she said, "You're wondering about the smell." Emma smiled. "How did you know?" The woman laughed softly. "Because everyone notices it on their third morning." "What is it?" The woman tied a ribbon around the flowers. "The garden of every season." Emma raised an eyebrow. "Is that nearby?" The woman nodded towards the eastern hills. "Follow the path lined with white stones, but don't try to find the garden." Emma tilted her head. "What do you mean?" The innkeeper gave her the same mysterious smile she had come to expect. "If you're searching too hard, you'll walk right past it." The white stone path wound through fields where butterflies drifted lazily above tall grass. The morning sun warmed Emma's shoulders as she walked. Every few hundred steps, she stopped, not because she was tired, because something beautiful always seemed to appear. A tiny bluebird building a nest, morning dew sparkling like diamonds on spiderwebs, wild rabbits quietly nibbling clover, a breeze that made thousands of leaves shimmer together like green waves. For once in her life, she wasn't walking towards a destination. She was enjoying every step that led there. After nearly an hour, the path disappeared into a small forest. The trees grew taller. The air became cooler. Sunlight filtered through the branches in long golden ribbons. Emma slowed even more. Then she saw an old wooden gate. It had no fence attached to it, just the gate, standing alone beneath two enormous maple trees. A hand-painted sign hung from one hinge. "Please enter slowly." Emma smiled. "I think I can manage that." She gently pushed the gate open. It made no sound at all. The garden beyond took her breath away. Flowers covered every hillside, but something wasn't quite possible. Bright tulips bloomed beside summer sunflowers. Cherry blossoms floated through the air above autumn maple trees. Golden daffodils surrounded evergreen pines dusted with delicate snow. Nearby, pumpkins rested beneath grapevines heavy with ripe fruit. Spring, summer, autumn, winter, all together, none replacing another, all existing peacefully side by side. Emma turned in a slow circle. This can't be real. A gentle voice answered from behind her. "Why not?" She turned. An elderly woman knelt beside a bed of white lilies. Her silver hair was braided neatly down her back. Her hands were stained with rich, dark soil. She smiled without surprise. "I've been expecting you." Emma laughed. "Of course you have." The gardener chuckled. "The island usually knows who needs this place." "You grow all these?" Emma asked. The woman shook her head. "I help. The garden does most of the work." Emma looked around. "I've never seen anything like it." Neither had I, until many years ago. They began walking together. The paths curved gently between flower beds alive with bees and butterflies. Birdsong drifted through the warm air. Tiny fountains whispered beneath climbing roses. Emma noticed something remarkable. Every flower seemed perfectly healthy. Not one appeared neglected. "How do you care for so many?" The gardener smiled. "I don't." Emma frowned. "But I care for whichever one needs me today." She gently removed a single yellow leaf from a rosebush. Tomorrow may be different. Emma thought about her own life. her endless lists, her overflowing calendar, her habit of trying to do everything at once. The gardener seemed to read her thoughts. People often believe life asks them to hold every season together. She touched a blooming cherry branch. But that's impossible. Emma nodded slowly. So how does your garden do it? The woman smiled. It doesn't. Emma looked around again, confused. It simply allows every season to arrive when it is ready. They stopped beside a stone bench overlooking a small pond. Water lilies floated quietly across its surface. Dragonflies skimmed the water like tiny blue jewels. The gardener handed Emma a small packet of seeds. Inside were dozens of tiny gray grains. What kind are they? I don't know. Emma laughed. You planted them. I did, but I've never asked what they'll become. You never wondered? The woman shook her head. Every seed already knows. It doesn't need me telling it. Emma rolled one tiny seed across her palm. So you just trust it? I trust time. She smiled gently, and time has never disappointed me. As they continued walking, Emma noticed a young apple tree growing beside an enormous oak. The oak stretched high into the sky, its branches wide enough to shade half the garden. The little apple tree leaned slightly towards the sunlight. It looks so small. The gardener nodded. It is. Will it survive beside the oak? Oh yes. How can you be sure? The woman smiled warmly. Because the oak has already become what it needed to become. It has no reason to hurry the apple tree. Emma stood silently. How often had she compared herself to others? Friends who seemed more successful, neighbors with larger homes, colleagues who earned promotions faster. She had measured her own life against theirs without even realizing it. The gardener gently touched the apple tree's leaves. No flower blooms because another flower tells it to. No tree grows by racing the forest. Everything here simply becomes itself. Emma felt those words settle quietly inside her heart. The afternoon drifted by almost unnoticed. Together they watered young plants, collected herbs, watched hummingbirds dart between blossoms, sat quietly beneath flowering trees. Sometimes they spoke, sometimes they didn't. Neither silence nor conversation felt more important than the other. As the sun lowered towards the western sea, the gardener walked Emma back to the old gate. Before she left, she tucked one tiny seed into her hand. Take this. What should I plant? The woman smiled. Not the seed. Emma looked confused. What then? The gardener gently closed her fingers around it. A slower life. Emma looked down at her closed hand. When she opened it again, the seed was gone. Only the warmth remained. Emma walked back towards Stillwater Isle as the evening sky turned shades of gold and soft violet. The scent of flowers lingered on the breeze. She realized she had spent the entire day in the garden, yet it hadn't felt long, nor short. It had just been enough. As the first stars appeared above the island, she glanced towards the distant hills one last time. The old wooden gate was no longer visible, only the forest remained, as though the garden had quietly hidden itself once more, waiting patiently for the next traveler who had forgotten that life was never meant to be rushed. The morning arrived beneath a sky painted in soft shades of pearl and pale blue. The sea was so still that the clouds seemed to rest upon its surface instead of floating above it. Emma left the inn carrying nothing more than a light sweater and a notebook she still hadn't written in. She had begun to notice something about the island. Every day seemed to offer a gentle invitation rather than a destination. There were no schedules, no recommendations, no list of must-see attractions, only quiet possibilities. As she stepped outside, the innkeeper was watering herbs beside the front porch. Without turning around, she said, "If the tide is low today—" Emma waited. "Follow the shoreline to the north." Emma smiled. "And what will I find there?" The innkeeper shrugged, ever so slightly. "Perhaps something you've been missing." Before Emma could ask another question, the woman returned to her watering can, humming a tune as old as the sea itself. The northern shoreline felt different from the harbor. The rocks were larger. The cliffs stood taller. The waves whispered instead of splashing. Seagrass swayed gently with every passing breeze. Emma followed the narrow beach, stopping now and then to examine shells, polished smooth by countless tides. Some were white as fresh snow. Others shimmered with hints of lavender, blue, and rose. She slipped one into her pocket, then another. Soon she realized she wasn't collecting shells, she was collecting moments. After nearly an hour, she rounded a bend where the cliffs opened into a hidden cove. It was unlike any beach she had ever seen. The sand glowed with tiny flecks of silver. The water was perfectly clear, revealing colorful stones beneath the surface. At the center of the cove stood a weathered wooden bench facing the sea. No footprints surrounded it, as though it had been waiting only for her. Emma sat down. The silence wasn't empty. It was full of waves, full of seabirds, full of wind, full of breathing. She closed her eyes. The sound of the ocean rose and fell like a lullaby. Minutes drifted by, or perhaps much longer. She wasn't sure anymore. A gentle voice interrupted the stillness. "Most people come here looking for what they've lost." Emma opened her eyes. Standing beside the bench was an elderly woman carrying a woven basket filled with smooth stones. Her gray hair danced in the breeze, and deep smile lines framed her kind eyes. Emma smiled. "And do they find it?" The woman sat beside her. "Sometimes." "What kinds of things do people lose?" The woman looked out across the sea. "Oh, keys, letters, necklaces." She paused. "And much more." Emma waited. "People also lose patience. They lose wonder. They lose curiosity. They lose hope." The breeze carried her words gently across the water. They lose the ability to notice beautiful things. Emma looked down at the shell in her hand. Perhaps she understood. The woman emptied her basket onto the sand. Inside were dozens of ordinary stones. Each one was perfectly smooth, each one different. She picked up a small gray pebble. "What do you see?" "A stone." The woman nodded. "I see 20 years." Emma looked puzzled. This little pebble once rested high on the cliffs. Rain loosened it. Wind carried it. The sea rolled it over and over for thousands of days. She placed it back among the others. It became smooth because time never hurried. Emma turned the pebble in her own hand. It truly was beautiful, not despite its worn edges, because of them. Together, they walked along the edge of the water. Tiny waves washed over their feet. The sand felt cool beneath Emma's toes. Suddenly, she noticed something half buried beneath the wet sand, a tiny glass bottle. Inside was a folded piece of paper. She carefully opened it. The handwriting had faded with age, yet a single sentence remained clear. "I hope one day I learn to forgive myself." Emma looked at the woman. "Who wrote this?" The woman smiled gently. I don't know. Did they ever come back? Perhaps. Did they find forgiveness? The woman bent down to pick up another stone. I believe the sea never keeps anything forever. It simply returns things when we're finally ready to receive them. Emma folded the paper carefully and slipped it back inside the bottle. She placed it exactly where she had found it. The tide would decide the rest. Farther along the beach stood an enormous driftwood tree, washed ashore decades ago. Its twisted branches reached toward the sky like open hands. Dozens of colorful ribbons fluttered from its weathered limbs. Emma walked closer. Each ribbon carried a handwritten message. One read, "Thank you for another sunrise." Another, "I finally called my brother." Another, "Today I laughed again." One tiny blue ribbon simply said, "I'm still here." Emma swallowed quietly. There was something deeply moving about those simple words. No grand achievements, no impossible dreams, only small moments of gratitude. The woman tied a fresh ribbon onto one of the branches. "What did you write?" The woman smiled. "I wrote nothing." Emma blinked. "The ribbon is blank." "It is. Why?" "Because someone else can finish the sentence." Emma stood in silence. Perhaps every life left unfinished spaces for others to complete. As afternoon melted into evening, the tide slowly began to rise. The waves reached farther up the beach. One by one, they erased every footprint Emma had made that day. She watched until the last one disappeared. "It feels strange," she admitted. "What does?" "Like I was never here." The woman shook her head. "The sea erases footprints." She gently placed a hand over Emma's heart. "It does not erase journeys." Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest. Some paths were never meant to be seen, only remembered. Before they parted, the woman handed Emma a single smooth white stone. There was nothing unusual about it. No markings, no carvings, just a perfectly ordinary pebble. "When should I keep this?" Emma asked. The woman smiled. "Until you no longer need to hold it. And then, leave it somewhere another traveler might find it." Emma slipped the stone into her pocket, beside the shell and the old brass compass. 3 simple objects, none valuable, yet somehow more precious than anything she had packed from home. That evening, Emma returned to the inn, just as the first lanterns flickered to life across the village. She climbed to her room and opened her notebook for the first time. She stared at the empty page for several minutes. Then she wrote only one sentence. "Maybe the things we lose are not always gone. Sometimes they are simply waiting for us to slow down enough to find them again." She closed the notebook. Outside, the tide continued its quiet conversation with the shore. Somewhere beneath the silver moonlight, waves carried forgotten letters, polished stones, and whispered hopes across the endless sea. And somewhere beyond the northern cliffs, another story was already making its way towards Emma, one that had been traveling much longer than she could possibly imagine. The 6th morning on Stillwater Isle arrived beneath a blanket of gentle rain. Not the kind of rain that hurried people indoors. This rain seemed almost thoughtful. Tiny drops tapped softly against Emma's window, each one carrying its own quiet rhythm. The harbor shimmered beneath a veil of silver mist. Fishing boats remained tied to their docks. The gulls stood peacefully on wooden posts, as though they had long ago accepted that some days were meant for stillness. Emma wrapped herself in a light raincoat and stepped outside. The village felt quieter than ever. No umbrellas rushed through the streets. No one complained about the weather. An elderly couple sat beneath the porch of the bakery, sipping tea while watching the rain as though it were the morning's finest performance. Children in bright yellow boots splashed gently through puddles, laughing every time raindrops bounced from the stones beneath their feet. No one seemed eager for the storm to end. The island welcomed every kind of weather. As Emma walked through the square, she noticed a small wooden sign she was certain hadn't been there before. It leaned beside an old maple tree. The letters were painted by hand. The Library of Quiet Days, open whenever someone needs it. She looked around. There were no arrows, no directions, only the sign. A passing shopkeeper smiled. "Looking for the library?" "I think so." He nodded toward a narrow lane hidden between two ivy-covered cottages. "Keep walking until the sound of rain becomes softer." Emma frowned. "How will I know?" "You'll hear the silence." Before she could ask another question, the shopkeeper tipped his hat and continued on his way. The narrow lane twisted gently uphill. Rain dripped from fern leaves. Tiny streams crossed the cobblestones before disappearing beneath flowering hedges. As Emma walked, something remarkable happened. The rain grew quieter. Not because it stopped, because the trees became thicker, their branches weaving together into a living roof above the path. Finally, she reached a small stone building tucked beneath towering oaks. It was modest, almost hidden. Warm golden light glowed through its windows. Above the weathered wooden door hung a simple bronze plaque. "Every story deserves enough time to be read." Emma smiled. She gently pushed the door open. Warmth greeted her immediately. The scent of old books, cedar wood, and fresh tea filled the air. Tall shelves stretched from floor to ceiling. Thousands of books rested quietly together. Some were bound in worn leather, others were colorful cloth covers faded by decades of careful hands. A fire crackled softly inside a stone fireplace. Near one window sat an elderly librarian wearing small round glasses. She looked up from her book and smiled. "You've arrived just before the rain finished its first chapter." Emma laughed. "I didn't know rain had chapters." The librarian carefully closed her book. "Everything tells a story, if we're willing to listen long enough." Emma wandered slowly through the shelves. The titles were unlike anything she had ever seen. The afternoon, nobody checked the time. 100 beautiful silences. Conversations beneath apple trees. The sound of snow falling. Letters never sent. A year of slow sunsets. Each title felt less like a book and more like a memory. She selected one from the shelf. Its cover simply read, "Tuesday." Nothing more. She opened it. The pages were blank. Confused, she looked around. "So," the librarian said gently. "What did it say?" Emma held up the empty pages. "There aren't any words." The woman smiled knowingly. "Not yet." The librarian motioned for Emma to sit beside the fireplace. She poured 2 steaming cups of herbal tea. "You seem disappointed. I thought they were real books." "They are. They're empty. Only until someone lives them." Emma tilted her head. "I don't understand." The librarian reached for a thick journal resting beside her chair. Its cover showed years of careful use. She opened it. Inside were beautifully handwritten pages, not dramatic adventures, not famous events, simple moments. "Today, I watched rain gather on a single rose petal until it became too heavy to hold." She turned another page. "This afternoon, an old friend and I spent 3 hours saying almost nothing. It was one of our finest conversations." Another page. "A little boy laughed because a butterfly landed on his shoe instead of a flower." Emma smiled. "They're ordinary." "Exactly." The librarian's eyes sparkled. "Ordinary moments disappear the fastest, so I collect them." She led Emma to a long wooden table covered with journals. There were hundreds, perhaps thousands. Every one carried only a year: 1954, 1967, 1982, 2001, 2024. Emma carefully opened one. Inside were beautifully handwritten pages by dozens of different people: visitors, villagers, children, grandparents, sailors, artists, teachers. Each had recorded a single quiet day, not because it changed history, because it changed them. One entry caught Emma's attention. "I spent the afternoon watching clouds with my father. Neither of us spoke much. He passed away 2 weeks later. I never realized that quiet afternoon would become one of the loudest memories of my life." Emma closed the journal gently. The room suddenly felt even quieter. "May I ask you something?" Emma said softly. The librarian nodded. "Why doesn't the island have famous monuments?" The old woman smiled. "Oh, it has many." Emma looked around. "I haven't seen any." "You've walked past dozens." She pointed toward the rain-speckled window. The old fisherman repairing his nets, the baker kneading bread before sunrise, the gardener waiting for flowers to bloom, the woman collecting stones on the beach. "They're monuments? They remind us," she folded her hands, "that a meaningful life isn't built from extraordinary days. It's built from ordinary days, noticed completely." Emma sat quietly. No one had ever explained life quite like that. As the afternoon wore on, the rain slowly faded. Sunlight slipped through the clouds, filling the library with warm, golden light. The librarian placed a brand new journal before Emma. Its cover was blank. "So," she asked, "what should I write?" The librarian smiled. "Nothing today." Emma was surprised. "Why not?" "Because you're still living the story." She gently closed the journal. "Write tomorrow." Emma nodded. For once, she wasn't in a hurry to capture the moment. She wanted to experience it first. Before Emma left, the librarian handed her a small brass bookmark shaped like a feather. Etched into its surface were just 7 words. "Some pages must be lived before they're written." Emma slipped it inside her notebook. As she stepped back outside, the rain had ended. The village glistened beneath fresh sunlight. Every leaf sparkled with tiny drops of water. Children chased rainbows forming in puddles. The sea reflected the clearing sky like polished glass. Emma paused in the middle of the path. She realized something. Back at home, she would have called this a rainy day. Here, it had become one of the most beautiful days she could remember. That evening, she opened her notebook again. This time, she didn't hesitate. She wrote slowly, not because the words were difficult, because they deserved their own unhurried pace. When she finished, she smiled. It was only 1 page, yet somehow it felt fuller than entire years she once rushed through. Outside, the island settled beneath another peaceful sunset. And far beyond the village, hidden among ancient cliffs overlooking the endless sea, an old lighthouse keeper was preparing to ring a bell that had echoed across Stillwater Isle for generations. It was a sound few visitors ever truly understood, but Emma was about to hear it. The 7th morning on Stillwater Isle began before sunrise. Emma wasn't awakened by light. She wasn't awakened by birds. She was awakened by a single deep sound rolling gently across the island. Dong. The note drifted through the open window like a slow-moving wave. It wasn't loud. It wasn't startling. It simply filled the quiet air before slowly fading into the sea. Several minutes passed. Then, dong. Emma sat up in bed. The sound was unlike any church bell she had ever heard. It carried no urgency, no command, no announcement. It seemed less like something asking to be heard and more like something inviting people to listen. She dressed quickly, not hurriedly, but with quiet curiosity, and stepped outside. The village was already awake, yet no one seemed surprised by the bell. The baker continued shaping dough. Children skipped along the stone paths toward the schoolhouse. An old woman swept autumn leaves from her porch, smiling softly to herself. Emma stopped a passing fisherman. "What is that bell?" He looked toward the western cliffs. "The lighthouse." "It rings every morning?" He shook his head. "No." "When does it ring?" The fisherman thought for a moment. "When it needs to." Before Emma could ask what that meant, he tipped his cap and continued toward the harbor. She followed the narrow coastal trail leading west. The path climbed steadily above the sea, winding through fields of tall golden grass that swayed gently in the cool morning breeze. Below, waves broke softly against dark stone cliffs. White seabirds circled overhead, their cries echoing across the open water. The lighthouse soon appeared on the horizon. It stood alone on a rugged cliff, its white stone tower rising proudly above the restless sea. Unlike modern lighthouses, it showed its age without shame. Its paint had faded, its stones carried tiny cracks left by countless winters. Its bronze lantern room glowed faintly beneath the morning sky. Emma reached the top of the hill just as another bell sounded. Dong. The vibration seemed to travel through the ground itself. She placed a hand against the old stone wall. It felt warm despite the cool air. The lighthouse door stood open. Inside, a spiral staircase climbed toward the lantern room. Each wooden step creaked gently beneath her feet. Halfway up, she heard someone humming, a calm, familiar melody. At the top, an elderly man carefully polished the enormous brass bell. His beard flowed nearly to his chest. His blue wool sweater had clearly been repaired many times. Without turning around, he smiled. "You've been wondering about the bell?" Emma laughed. "Is it that obvious?" The old keeper nodded. "Everyone who hears it for the first time asks the same question." He carefully placed his polishing cloth aside. "My name is Elias." "I'm Emma." "I know." She smiled. "I suppose everyone does." He chuckled warmly. "The island likes introductions." Emma stepped closer to the bell. It was enormous. Its bronze surface shimmered with tiny engravings, not decorative patterns, names. Hundreds of them. Some looked centuries old, others seemed recent. She gently traced one with her fingertips. "What are these?" Elias looked at the bell with quiet affection. "People. They lived here?" "Some did, some only visited." Emma looked confused. "Why are there names on the bell?" The old keeper rested one weathered hand on the bronze. "Because every person leaves behind a sound." Emma waited. "The bell remembers." They climbed the final few steps into the lantern room. The morning sun had finally risen above the sea, painting the water in shimmering gold. The view stretched forever. Tiny fishing boats floated far below. The village looked like a handful of white stones scattered along the shoreline. Emma stood speechless. "It's beautiful." Elias nodded. "It's always has been." He handed her a small brass telescope. "Look toward the eastern hills." She did. She could see the garden where every season bloomed. Beyond it stood the clockmaker's cottage. Farther north, the hidden beach curved gently into the sea. It all looks connected. It is. The island isn't made of places, it's made of moments. Emma lowered the telescope. What do you mean? Elias smiled. Every place teaches one small lesson. When people gather those lessons together, they begin finding themselves. Emma glanced once more at the bell. You still haven't told me why it rings. The old keeper laughed softly. No, I suppose I haven't. He walked toward the open window overlooking the ocean. Long ago, the bell rang every hour, just like every lighthouse. Emma nodded. So what changed? The people. He folded his hands behind his back. They realized something. What? The sea already knew what time it was. Emma smiled. And the sailors? They had the stars, the tides, the wind, the birds. He turned toward her. So we stopped ringing the hours. Emma looked puzzled. When does it ring now? Elias thought carefully before answering. When something worth remembering happens. Emma frowned slightly. But that could be anything. Exactly, he smiled. Sometimes it rings because the first child of the year is born. Sometimes because an old friend returns after many seasons away. Sometimes because the first whale appears beyond the cliffs. Sometimes because the orchard blossoms. He paused. And sometimes it rings because someone forgives another person. Emma looked at him quietly. The whole island hears it? Yes. What do? They pause. For how long? As long as the moment deserves. Emma imagined an entire island stopping simply because something beautiful had happened. Back home, such news would have disappeared beneath headlines and notifications within minutes. Here, it became part of everyone's day. Late that afternoon, they walked outside and sat on a wooden bench overlooking the sea. Elias carried 2 mugs of warm herbal tea. Neither spoke for several minutes. The silence felt natural. Finally, Emma asked, "Have you always lived here?" He smiled at the horizon. "No, I once lived in Boston." Emma blinked. "You did? I was an engineer. Were you happy?" He considered the question for a long time. "I was successful." He looked down at his tea. That wasn't the same thing. Emma understood more than she expected. "I worked almost every day. I answered emails while eating dinner. I measured my life by deadlines." His gentle eyes met hers. Then one afternoon, I realized I couldn't remember the last sunset I'd actually watched. The words settled heavily between them. "So you came here?" "I came for a weekend." He laughed softly. "That was 38 years ago." As the afternoon light softened, Elias stood beside the great bell once more. He handed Emma the thick rope attached to its massive clapper. "Would you like to ring it?" Emma hesitated. "I don't think I should." "Why not?" "What if there isn't a reason?" Elias smiled. "There is." She looked at him. "What is it?" He nodded toward the sea. "You noticed today." Emma felt tears gathering unexpectedly in her eyes. She had noticed the wind, the waves, the quiet, the kindness of strangers, the warmth of simple conversations, the beauty of moments she once would have rushed past. Perhaps that really was enough. She gently pulled the rope. The great bell moved slowly. Then, dong. Its rich, deep voice rolled across the cliffs, over the forests, across the harbor, and into every corner of Stillwater Isle. Far below, people paused. The baker stopped kneading bread. Children looked toward the lighthouse and smiled. The gardener rested her watering can. The fisherman lowered his net. The librarian closed her book for a moment. No one asked why the bell had rung. They simply accepted that somewhere something beautiful had happened, and they honored it with a single shared moment of stillness. As the final echo disappeared into the endless sea, Elias looked toward Emma with quiet satisfaction. "Now," he said, "the island knows you're truly here." The evening sun dipped toward the horizon, covering the ocean in liquid gold, and somewhere beyond the farthest edge of the sea, a small wooden boat was already sailing toward Stillwater Isle. Its lone captain carried an old map, one that showed a place no one on the island had spoken about yet, a place where, according to the oldest stories, time itself had once stopped to rest. The morning after the bell rang, Emma noticed something she had never seen before. The island was quieter. Not silent, simply gentler. The baker kneaded his dough with the same calm rhythm as always. The fishermen untied their boats without a word. Children walked to school, their laughter drifting through the cool morning air like birdsong. Yet, beneath the ordinary life of the village, Emma sensed something different. It was as though the island itself had taken one long, peaceful breath. She couldn't explain why, she only felt it. After breakfast, Elias, the lighthouse keeper, was waiting outside the inn. He held a small canvas satchel over one shoulder. "Good morning," he said. Emma smiled. "I wasn't expecting to see you." "I know." He looked toward the eastern horizon. "Today isn't for expectations, it's for discoveries." She laughed softly. "Where are we going?" He pointed toward the sea cliffs beyond the lighthouse, to a place very few visitors ever find. Emma adjusted her sweater. "The hidden cove?" Elias nodded. "The one that's missing from every map." They followed a narrow trail that Emma had somehow overlooked during the past week. It wound behind the lighthouse, through a grove of wind-shaped pine trees, whose branches leaned permanently toward the sea. The morning breeze carried the scent of salt, rosemary, and damp earth. As they walked, Emma noticed that no signs marked the path, no fences, no arrows, only smooth stones placed here and there, almost naturally. "Were these left by the villagers?" she asked. Elias smiled. "No." "Then who placed them?" "The people who found the cove." Emma looked at the stones more carefully. Each one rested exactly where someone walking slowly would notice it. None could be seen by anyone rushing. After nearly an hour, the path narrowed until it became little more than a footpath through tall grass. Ahead stood a wall of ivy-covered rock. Emma frowned. "The trail ends here." Elias didn't answer. Instead, he gently pushed aside a curtain of hanging vines. Behind them was a narrow opening, just wide enough for one person. Cool air drifted out from the hidden passage. Emma's eyes widened. "I never would have found this." "That's the idea." They stepped inside. The passage curved gently downward through smooth stone carved by thousands of years of wind and water. Tiny shafts of sunlight filtered through cracks above, filling the tunnel with dancing beams of light. The sound of the sea grew louder, then softer, then louder again, until suddenly the tunnel opened. Emma stopped walking. Before her lay the most beautiful place she had ever seen. A perfect crescent-shaped cove rested between towering white cliffs. Crystal clear water shimmered in shades of turquoise and sapphire. Wildflowers spilled down the rocky slopes in every imaginable color. A small waterfall tumbled gently into a pool, so still it reflected the sky like polished glass. The only sounds were birds, water, and the distant rhythm of waves beyond the cliffs. No docks, no houses, no boats, no prints. only untouched beauty. Emma whispered, "It feels ancient." Elias nodded. "It is." They walked slowly along the shoreline. The sand was unlike any she had seen before. Tiny grains sparkled like powdered pearls beneath the sunlight. Emma bent down and picked up a handful. It slipped gently through her fingers. It almost glows. The island calls it moon sand. Why? Because it remembers every full moon that has ever shone here. Emma smiled. "I never know when you're joking." Elias laughed. "Neither do I." Near the waterfall stood an enormous flat stone. Its surface was perfectly smooth, almost polished. "This," Elias said quietly, "is the resting stone." Emma sat beside him. "It doesn't look special." "It isn't," he smiled, "until someone sits here." They remained silent. Minutes passed. The waterfall whispered steadily beside them. Dragonflies floated above the pool. A pair of swans glided gracefully across the water. Emma felt something unfamiliar. Not relaxation, not happiness, something deeper, as though every anxious thought she had carried for years had simply become tired. She closed her eyes. For the first time since arriving on the island, her mind stopped planning tomorrow, stopped replaying yesterday. It rested completely in the present moment. After a long while, Elias spoke softly. "There's an old story." Emma opened her eyes. "What story?" "The island says time itself once became weary." She smiled. "Time became tired?" "So the legend says. It had rushed through kingdoms, it had watched cities rise, it had carried people from childhood to old age. It had never paused." He looked toward the still water. Then, one evening, it found this cove. Emma listened quietly. Here, time sat down and rested. Emma smiled. "What happened then?" Elias looked around the peaceful cove. For a wonderful afternoon, nothing grew older. The flowers didn't fade, the waves didn't hurry. The birds simply sang, and every living thing experienced a perfect moment that asked for nothing more. Emma thought about the legend. "It isn't true," she said gently. Elias nodded. "Probably not, but sometimes stories tell the truth differently than facts." She looked across the water. "I think I understand." As the afternoon sunlight warmed the cliffs, they discovered something hidden near the waterfall. An old wooden rowboat rested under climbing ivy. Its paint had faded almost completely. Inside lay dozens of tiny folded paper boats. Each carried a handwritten name. Emma picked one up carefully. "Who are these for?" Elias smiled. "Visitors." "They made paper boats?" "They made wishes." She unfolded one. It read, "May I always remember how this morning felt." Another said, "I hope my children never forget how to wonder." Another simply read, "Enough." Nothing more. Emma stared at that single word. It carried more peace than an entire page could have. Elias handed her a square sheet of white paper. "You don't have to." Emma looked at it quietly. Then she folded, slowly, carefully. She hadn't made a paper boat since childhood. When it was finished, she borrowed his pencil. She wrote just 6 words. "May I never hurry my life again." Together, they placed the little paper boat into the calm pool beneath the waterfall. It floated gently away, not quickly, not slowly, exactly as the water carried it. As evening approached, golden light poured into the hidden cove. The cliffs glowed like warm honey. The waterfalls sparkled with tiny rainbows. Emma realized they had spent the entire day there without checking a clock, without asking what time it was, without feeling that time had been wasted. Instead, it felt wonderfully full. As they prepared to leave, Elias stopped by the entrance of the hidden passage. "There's one more place," he said quietly. Emma looked at him. "Where?" He smiled. "The oldest place on the island." "I thought this was." "No." He glanced toward the distant hills beyond the village. "The oldest place isn't made of stone. It isn't marked on maps. It exists only when someone is finally ready to find it." Emma felt the familiar spark of curiosity return, not the hurried curiosity that demanded immediate answers, but the gentle kind, the kind that could wait until tomorrow. As they disappeared into the winding passage, the hidden cove settled once more into peaceful silence. Its waters reflected the first evening stars, and somewhere beneath the surface, Emma's little paper boat drifted quietly onward, carrying 6 simple words into the timeless heart of the island. Emma awoke before dawn to a silence so complete that she could hear the gentle rhythm of her own breathing. The island still slept beneath a blanket of pale blue twilight. Beyond her window, the sea was almost invisible, blending seamlessly into the morning sky. For a long moment, she remained in bed, listening. A gull called once from somewhere beyond the harbor. Then came the soft rustle of leaves outside her window. Nothing more. It was enough. When she came downstairs, the innkeeper was already preparing fresh tea. She looked up with a warm smile. "You went to the hidden cove?" Emma nodded. It felt like the whole world had stopped. The woman carefully poured steaming tea into 2 small cups. "It never stops." She slid 1 cup toward Emma. "It simply remembers how to slow down." Emma smiled. "I think I'm beginning to understand." The innkeeper stirred a spoonful of honey into her own tea. "Then today," she paused, "you should meet the oldest resident on the island." Emma looked around the quiet dining room. "I've met many elderly people already." The woman laughed softly. "This one has lived here longer than any of us." After breakfast, Emma followed a narrow path leading inland. Unlike the coastal trails, this one wandered through peaceful meadows filled with tall grass that shimmered beneath the morning breeze. Butterflies floated lazily among the wildflowers. Tiny rabbits disappeared into the ferns. The farther she walked, the quieter the world became. Eventually, she reached the crest of a gentle hill. There, standing alone beneath the open sky, was the largest oak tree she had ever seen. Its trunk was wider than a small cottage. Its branches stretched across the hillside like welcoming arms. The bark carried deep grooves carved by centuries of wind and rain. Sunlight filtered through thousands of emerald leaves, scattering moving patterns across the grass below. Emma stopped without realizing it. The tree somehow seemed alive in a way she had never experienced before, not simply growing, watching, waiting, remembering. An old wooden bench rested beneath the enormous branches. Sitting there was a familiar face, the gardener from the garden of every season. She smiled as Emma approached. "I wondered how long it would take." Emma laughed. "To find the tree?" The gardener gently shook her head. "To let the tree find you." Emma sat beside her. Neither of them spoke for many minutes. The breeze moved softly through the branches overhead. Leaves whispered together in a language older than memory. Finally, Emma asked, "How old is it?" The gardener looked up into the endless canopy. "No one knows." "Surely someone counted." "They tried." "What happened?" She smiled softly. The tree kept growing. Emma rested one hand against the rough bark. It felt surprisingly warm beneath her fingertips. "I've never seen anything like it." The gardener nodded. "The island calls it the remembering oak." "Why?" The woman traced one of the deep grooves in the bark. Because every goodbye spoken beneath these branches becomes part of the tree. Emma frowned gently. What do you mean? Long ago, she began quietly, fishermen leaving for long voyages would stop here. They kissed their wives, hugged their children, promised to return. She smiled. Some did, some didn't. Emma looked up into the vast branches. And the tree remembers them? The gardener nodded. So the island says. They walked slowly around the great trunk. Emma noticed hundreds of tiny wooden tags hanging from low branches. Each carried a single word: hope, home, courage, kindness, peace, forgiveness. No names, only simple words. What are these? The gardener gently touched one that read, patience. People don't leave their names here. They leave what they hope will remain. Emma smiled. Do they come back? Many do. And they're often surprised. By what? She looked toward the sea. That what they left was already growing inside them. The morning drifted gently onward. They sat beneath the shade while squirrels raced along the branches overhead. A family of deer wandered quietly across the meadow before disappearing into the forest. Somewhere nearby, a woodpecker tapped rhythmically against another ancient tree. Emma opened her notebook. For once, she didn't feel the need to write. Instead, she simply watched. Clouds drifted slowly overhead. Leaves shimmered in the sunlight. The world asked nothing of her except her attention. After a while, the gardener stood up. I have something to show you. She led Emma around to the far side of the oak. Hidden among the roots was a small wooden door no taller than a child. Emma blinked. I've never noticed that. Few people do. The gardener gently opened it. Inside was not a room, but a hollow naturally formed within the ancient trunk. Hundreds of handwritten letters rested inside, carefully tied with faded ribbons. Emma looked at them in amazement. Who wrote these? Visitors. What are they for? They're letters people never mailed. Emma carefully picked up one. The envelope wasn't sealed. Inside was a single page. She hesitated. May I? The gardener nodded. They're meant to be read. Emma unfolded the letter. It began, Dear Dad, I spent years trying to become someone you would be proud of. One day I realized you already were. I only wish I had believed it sooner. Emma quietly folded the page again. Another letter read, To the younger version of myself, slow down. The days you keep rushing through will become the ones you miss the most. A third simply said, To tomorrow, I'm no longer afraid of taking my time to meet you. Emma gently returned each letter to its place. Does anyone ever collect them? She asked. The gardener smiled. No. So they stay here forever? Not exactly. She pointed toward the opening in the trunk. Every winter, when the first great storm arrives, the wind carries away whichever letters are no longer needed. Emma looked surprised. Where do they go? No one knows. She smiled softly, perhaps to the people who needed to hear them. The afternoon sun filtered through the leaves, creating thousands of shifting patches of light across the meadow. Emma leaned back against the ancient trunk. She closed her eyes. The oak seemed to breathe with the wind, slow, steady, patient. She remembered her own life before arriving on Stillwater Isle, the endless deadlines, the crowded trains, the glowing screens, the constant feeling that she was somehow running behind. Now, it all seemed very far away. Not forgotten, simply quieter, like a storm that had finally passed. Before leaving, the gardener handed Emma a small strip of smooth maple wood. You may write one word." Emma held the tiny tag thoughtfully. Only one. After a long silence, she picked up a pencil. She wrote, "Enough," the same word she had seen on the paper boat in the hidden cove. Enough work, enough worry, enough proving, enough rushing. She tied the tag gently to one of the lower branches. The breeze caught it immediately, making it sway beside hundreds of others. The gardener smiled. A good word. Emma looked up into the endless canopy. It feels lighter somehow. It should. The tree is carrying it with you now. As the sun slowly began its descent, Emma took one final look at the great oak. Its branches stretched across the sky like an old friend offering shelter. She suddenly understood why the island had no grand monuments, no marble statues, no towering memorials. Its greatest treasures were living ones: a garden, a lighthouse, a library, a hidden cove, an ancient tree. Places that didn't ask visitors to remember history, they quietly helped people remember themselves. As Emma walked back toward the village, golden leaves drifted gently behind her, and somewhere beyond the rolling hills, a faint melody floated through the evening air. It wasn't the lighthouse bell, it was music, soft, warm, and carried by a violin that had not been played in many years. The island, it seemed, still had another story waiting. The melody reached Emma just as the last rays of sunlight slipped behind the western hills. It was soft enough to disappear beneath the sound of the wind, gentle enough to blend with the waves, yet beautiful enough that she immediately stopped walking. The music wasn't hurried. It wandered like an old friend telling a story without worrying how long it might take. One note lingered in the air, then another. Each one seemed to carry memories that needed no words. Emma stood perfectly still. The island had shown her gardens, beaches, libraries, and ancient trees. Now, it was speaking through music. She followed the sound through the quiet village. The melody drifted between white cottages, across flower-filled gardens, and into the evening square. People weren't gathering around the musician. They simply continued their evenings. Some sat on porches, some watered flowers, others watched the sunset. Everyone listened. No one applauded, no one interrupted. The music belonged to everyone. At the far end of the square stood a tiny stone chapel. Its wooden doors were open. Warm candlelight flickered inside. Emma stepped quietly through the entrance. The room was simple. Wooden benches, old stained glass windows glowing with the colors of the setting sun, wildflowers resting in handmade clay vases. There were no grand decorations, only peace. Near the front sat an elderly man playing a beautifully worn violin. His silver hair rested neatly against his shoulders. His eyes remained closed. It seemed he wasn't performing, he was remembering. The final note slowly faded into silence. He opened his eyes and smiled. "I wondered when you'd arrive." Emma laughed softly. "I suppose everyone does." The old musician nodded. "The island has excellent timing." "My name is Samuel," he said as he carefully placed the violin across his lap. "I'm Emma." "I know." She smiled. "Of course." Samuel gently ran a cloth along the violin's polished wood. "It has been waiting to meet you." Emma looked at the instrument. "It's beautiful. It has lived a long life." She noticed countless tiny scratches along its surface. "Has it been repaired many times?" Samuel nodded. "So have I." He invited Emma to sit beside one of the stained glass windows. Outside, the sky glowed in shades of amber, rose, and lavender. The last sunlight painted the chapel floor with brilliant colors. "I used to play in concert halls in Chicago." Emma looked surprised. For large audiences? He smiled. Thousands. That must have been exciting. It was. Were you happy? Samuel considered the question carefully. I believed applause meant happiness. He looked down at the violin. It took me many years to discover they weren't the same thing. Emma listened quietly. There came a night, Samuel continued, when I finished performing before the largest audience of my career. The applause lasted nearly 10 minutes. What did you do? I bowed. And then I walked into my dressing room and realized I couldn't remember a single face. Silence settled gently around them. The music had become something I delivered, not something I shared. Emma understood exactly what he meant. So you left? Samuel nodded. I stopped touring. My friends thought I was making the biggest mistake of my life. Were you? He smiled toward the open doorway, where the evening breeze carried the scent of lavender inside. No, I was finally making my own life. He handed the violin to Emma. She hesitated. I don't know how to play. You don't need to. She carefully held the instrument. Its wood felt smooth from decades of loving hands. What do you notice? She closed her eyes. It feels... She searched for the word. Comfortable. Samuel smiled. It knows it doesn't have to be perfect anymore. Emma looked at him curiously. What do you mean? When violins are new, they try very hard. They're bright, powerful, almost eager to impress. He gently touched the old wood. But after thousands of songs, they stop trying. They simply become honest. Samuel stood and walked toward a shelf holding dozens of handwritten music books. Emma noticed something unusual. None of them had titles like symphonies or concertos. Instead, they read, The Morning After the First Snow, A Walk Beside the Harbor, Tea with Old Friends, The Sound of Wind Through Pine Trees, Waiting for the Bread to Rise. Emma laughed. These are songs? They are. Who wrote them? The island. Emma laughed. The island composes music? Samuel nodded. Every beautiful day has its own melody. I simply listen. He opened one of the books. The pages contained musical notes written carefully by hand. There are no lyrics. There don't need to be. He lifted the violin once more. Listen. He began to play. The melody was unlike anything Emma had ever heard. It wasn't dramatic. It didn't build toward a grand ending. Instead, it unfolded gently, like waves reaching the shore. She closed her eyes, and the music reminded her of walking through the garden of every season, of rain falling against the library windows, of the hidden cove, of the lighthouse bell, of the great oak whispering in the breeze. Every memory blended together, not as separate moments, but as one peaceful story. When the final note faded away, neither of them spoke. Words would have only interrupted. Eventually, Samuel broke the silence. Do you know why music matters? Emma thought for a moment. It makes people feel something. Yes, but even more? He looked toward the darkening sky. It reminds us silence isn't empty. The notes mean nothing without the quiet between them. Emma slowly nodded. The pauses are part of the song. They're what allow us to hear it. She smiled. Like life. Samuel's eyes brightened. Exactly. We spend so much time filling every moment that we forget the spaces are beautiful too. As darkness settled over the island, tiny lanterns appeared throughout the village. Their warm golden light reflected across the calm harbor. Samuel carefully placed the violin back into its worn wooden case. Before closing it, he removed something from inside, a single feather, white and perfectly preserved. Emma looked at it curiously. What is that for? Samuel smiled. The first time I arrived on the island, I found this feather outside the lighthouse. I kept it to remind myself. Of what? That birds don't rush the wind. They trust it. He placed the feather into Emma's notebook beside the brass bookmark from the library. You've collected many reminders. Emma looked inside her notebook. The compass without a needle, the smooth white stone, the seashell, the feather-shaped bookmark. Now, the feather. None of them expensive, none of them rare. Yet together, they had become the richest souvenirs she had ever owned. As Emma stepped outside, the night sky stretched above her in countless stars. The Milky Way shimmered clearly from horizon to horizon. There was almost no moon, only starlight. She walked slowly back toward the inn. Halfway there, she noticed something extraordinary. Nearly every window in the village was open. Soft music drifted from several homes. Children laughed quietly. Neighbors shared stories on their porches. No televisions flickered. No phones glowed in anyone's hands. The island seemed to end each day the same way it began. Present, peaceful, together. Just before she reached the inn, the lighthouse bell sounded once. Dong. Only once. Emma looked toward the cliffs. Far away, she could just make out Elias standing beside the great bell. He wasn't looking toward the village. He was looking out across the dark sea, as though he had seen something approaching, something beyond the horizon. Emma followed his gaze. At first, she saw only moonlit water. Then, a tiny point of warm light appeared in the distance. It moved slowly across the sea. Not a fishing boat, not the ferry, something much older, much smaller, and somehow expected. Whatever was coming towards Stillwater Isle had been traveling for a very long time, and the island, as always, was in no hurry to greet it. Emma dreamed of the sea that night, not of storms or towering waves, but of endless calm water stretching beneath a sky filled with stars. In her dream, a single wooden boat drifted across the horizon. It had no sail, no engine, no oars, yet it moved with quiet certainty, carried by currents older than memory. Someone stood aboard, but the distance was too great to see their face. Just before the boat reached the shore, Emma awoke. Morning light spilled gently across her room. The dream lingered with her like the last note of Samuel's violin. She dressed and stepped outside. The village already seemed to know something unusual was about to happen. Not because anyone hurried, quite the opposite. People moved even more slowly than usual. The baker placed fresh loaves onto wooden shelves with extra care. The librarian opened every window of the library. The gardener arranged wildflowers along the village square. Even the fishermen left their boats tied safely in the harbor. Emma noticed Elias walking down from the lighthouse. He carried his lantern, though daylight had already filled the sky. She waved. "Good morning." He smiled. "It will be." "You've seen the boat, haven't you?" He nodded. "It entered the bay before sunrise." Emma looked toward the harbor. "I don't see anything." "You will." "When?" He laughed softly. "When it arrives." Hours passed. The villagers continued their ordinary routines. No one gathered at the docks. No one stood scanning the horizon. No one checked a clock. Emma found it almost impossible not to look toward the sea every few minutes. Finally, she asked the innkeeper, "Doesn't anyone want to know when the boat will get here?" The silver-haired woman smiled while arranging fresh flowers on a windowsill. "We already know." Emma looked puzzled. "You do?" "It will arrive exactly when it's meant to." "But what if it's delayed?" The innkeeper chuckled. "By whose schedule?" Emma laughed. She realized she had asked a question that belonged to the mainland, not to this island. Near midday, the lighthouse bell rang once. Dong! The single note drifted across the harbor. Without speaking, people gently paused what they were doing. The baker brushed flour from his hands. Children quietly closed their books. The gardener placed her watering can beside a bed of roses. Samuel carried his violin to the village square. No one rushed. They simply walked toward the old wooden pier together. Emma followed. The harbor shimmered beneath the afternoon sun. At first, she saw only open water. Then, the small boat appeared around the headland. It was exactly as she had dreamed. Old, simple, weathered by decades of wind and sea. Its wooden hull carried countless patches where careful hands had repaired it over the years. There was no motor, only a single cream-colored sail gently catching the breeze. It glided into the harbor almost silently. The boat touched the dock with barely a sound. An elderly woman stepped ashore. Her silver hair was braided beneath a wide straw hat. She carried only one small leather satchel, nothing more. No suitcase, no boxes, no heavy luggage. She smiled as if she had merely returned from an afternoon walk. The villagers welcomed her warmly, not with cheers, not with applause, simply with hugs. Long, quiet hugs. Emma watched as the baker embraced her, then the librarian, then Samuel, then Elias. Each greeted her as though no time had passed at all. Finally, the innkeeper turned toward Emma. "I'd like you to meet Clara." The elderly woman smiled. "So, you're the traveler." Emma nodded. "I suppose everyone knows me." Clara laughed. "The island has been talking about you." Emma helped carry Clara's small satchel. "It isn't very heavy." "It never is." "You've traveled a long way." "I have." "Where have you come from?" Clara looked toward the open sea. "Oh, many places." She paused. "And nowhere in particular." Emma smiled. "You're making me speak like everyone else on this island." Clara laughed. "That's because the island doesn't answer questions, it offers conversations." They sat together beneath the large maple tree in the village square. Children played nearby while seabirds drifted overhead. Clara opened her satchel. Inside were dozens of tiny wooden boxes, each no larger than the palm of her hand. Emma picked one up carefully. It was beautifully carved. "What are these?" "Gifts." "For everyone?" Clara nodded. She handed one box to the librarian. Inside rested a perfectly smooth acorn. Another box went to Samuel. Inside was an old violin string carefully coiled into a tiny circle. The gardener received a dried sunflower seed. The baker smiled as he discovered a single grain of wheat. Emma looked puzzled. "They're so simple." Clara smiled. "The best gifts usually are." Finally, Clara placed one small wooden box into Emma's hands. Emma opened it slowly. Inside rested nothing. The box was empty. She looked up in surprise. "I think there's been a mistake." Clara gently shook her head. "No, it's empty." "It is." Emma looked inside again. "What am I supposed to do with it?" Clara's eyes sparkled kindly. "Fill it." "With what?" "Whatever you discover that cannot be held." Emma smiled softly. "That's impossible." "So was slowing down." Emma laughed. She closed the tiny wooden lid. For some reason, the empty box felt wonderfully complete. That afternoon, Clara wandered through the village. Everywhere she went, people greeted her with quiet affection. She stopped to admire flowers. She helped children build tiny boats from fallen leaves. She sat beside the old fisherman without speaking for nearly half an hour. Emma noticed something unusual. Clara never seemed to introduce herself, yet everyone knew her. Later, Emma asked Elias, "Who is she?" He looked thoughtfully toward the harbor. "Some call her a traveler. Others," he smiled, "call her a reminder." "A reminder of what?" "That no matter how far we wander, there is always a way home." As evening approached, Clara and Emma walked along the quiet shoreline. The sea reflected the colors of the setting sun in brilliant shades of gold, coral, and violet. Clara stopped beside a tide pool where tiny starfish clung to smooth rocks beneath the clear water. Without looking up, she asked, "Do you know what has changed since you've arrived?" Emma thought carefully. "I've become calmer. Yes. I notice more. Yes. I don't think about work all the time anymore." Clara smiled. "All true." She finally looked into Emma's eyes. "But that's not the greatest change." Emma waited. "You've stopped asking the island to give you something. You've started allowing it to teach you." Emma stood silently beside the tide pool. She realized Clara was right. When she had first arrived, she had hoped the island would fix her exhaustion. Now, she no longer wanted to be fixed. She simply wanted to keep learning how to live. The sun finally slipped below the horizon. The first stars appeared overhead. Clara looked toward the eastern hills. "Tomorrow," she said quietly, "I'll take you somewhere I've never taken a visitor before." Emma smiled. "The oldest place on the island?" Clara nodded. "The place that cannot be found." Emma laughed. "How do you visit a place that can't be found?" Clara began walking back toward the village. "You don't." She looked over her shoulder with a gentle smile. "You become quiet enough for it to find you." The waves rolled softly against the shore as darkness settled over Stillwater Isle. Far above, the lighthouse cast its warm beam across the endless sea. And somewhere beyond the reach of maps, clocks, and hurried lives, the island's oldest secret waited patiently for another sunrise. The next morning arrived wrapped in a gentle blanket of fog. Not the thick fog that hides the world, the kind that softens it. The village looked as though it had been painted with delicate strokes of silver and pearl. The harbor disappeared into the mist. The lighthouse stood only as a quiet silhouette beyond the water. Even the waves seemed to whisper more softly than usual. Emma met Clara just after sunrise. The elderly traveler carried no map, no compass, not even her little leather satchel. She smiled as Emma approached. "Ready?" Emma nodded. "Where are we going?" Clara chuckled. "If I told you, you would start looking for it. And that's exactly how people miss it." Emma laughed. "I should have known." They left the village without following any particular path. Sometimes they walked through fields filled with wildflowers, sometimes beneath towering pines, sometimes along quiet streams where dragonflies hovered above the water. There was no clear direction, no destination Emma could recognize. After a while, she realized something. She had completely stopped wondering where they were. Instead, she noticed the tiny details around her. The cool morning breeze brushing against her face, the scent of damp earth after the night's mist, the distant call of a hawk circling high above the cliffs, the warm sunlight slowly breaking through the clouds. Every step felt complete on its own. Hours passed, or perhaps less. Emma honestly couldn't tell anymore. Eventually, they reached a small meadow surrounded by ancient birch trees. Nothing extraordinary stood there, just soft grass, wildflowers, a single weathered wooden bench, and silence. Clara stopped walking. "We're here," Emma looked around. "This is the oldest place?" Clara nodded. "It doesn't seem different." "It isn't." Emma frowned slightly. "I don't understand." Clara smiled. "Sit." They sat together beneath the open sky. A gentle breeze moved through the birch leaves, creating a sound like distant rain. For several minutes, neither of them spoke. Emma waited. Surely something would happen. Some hidden cave would appear, some ancient monument, some mysterious sign. Nothing did. Only the breeze, only the birds, only the warmth of the morning sun. Finally, Emma asked, "Is this really it?" Clara nodded. "Yes, but there isn't anything here." Clara looked at her kindly. "There is now." Emma looked confused. "What do you mean?" "You." Emma sat quietly, letting those words settle. Clara reached down and picked up a single fallen birch leaf. When people first come to the island, they're always searching for peace, for answers, for healing, for meaning. She let the leaf drift gently back to the ground. But searching can become another form of rushing. Emma lowered her eyes. She remembered her first days on the island, always asking what came next, what secret remained, what lesson she hadn't learned yet. Clara smiled. "So today, we stopped searching." They remained on the bench. The silence stretched comfortably between them. A family of rabbits wandered through the meadow without fear. A butterfly landed briefly on Emma's sleeve before floating away again. Clouds drifted lazily across the blue sky. Nothing remarkable happened, yet somehow everything felt remarkable. Emma closed her eyes. She listened, not for voices, not for music, not for hidden mysteries, simply for the world. She heard bees humming among the flowers, leaves dancing overhead, her own heartbeat, the slow rhythm of her breathing, and somewhere far away, the sea. When she opened her eyes again, Clara was smiling. "You found it." Emma looked around. "I didn't find anything. You found this moment." Clara stood and began walking through the meadow. Emma followed. At the center of the field stood a circle of smooth white stones, no larger than a dining table. The grass inside the circle was slightly taller than everywhere else. Clara stepped inside. "So many visitors ask me what makes this place special." She looked down at the grass. "Would you like to know?" Emma nodded. "There has never been a building here. No monument, no statue, no temple, no treasure." Emma looked puzzled. "Then why is it the oldest place?" Clara smiled. "Because before the village existed, before the lighthouse, before the harbor, before anyone built a single home, people came here simply to sit together beneath the sky." Emma imagined generations of travelers gathering in this quiet meadow, not to accomplish anything, not to build anything, only to share a peaceful afternoon. "There is something ancient about that," she whispered. "There is." As the afternoon sunlight grew warmer, Clara reached into her pocket and removed a tiny hourglass. It was no taller than Emma's hand. Golden sand rested inside. Emma smiled. "Finally, a clock." Clara laughed. "Not exactly." She turned the hourglass upside down. The sand began falling slowly. Emma watched it carefully. After a minute, she asked, "How long does it last?" Clara shrugged. "I've never measured." Emma laughed. "You don't know?" "I've never cared." She handed the hourglass to Emma. "Look more closely." Emma did. The sand didn't fall steadily. Sometimes several grains dropped together, sometimes only one. Occasionally, it seemed to pause entirely before continuing again. "It isn't perfect." "No." Clara smiled. "Neither is time." Emma looked at her. "What do you mean?" "We imagine time moves like a machine, always the same.
But it never feels that way. A joyful afternoon disappears in moments. A lonely hour feels endless. A beautiful conversation seems timeless. She gently closed Emma's fingers around the hourglass. So perhaps we've been measuring the wrong thing all along. The afternoon drifted quietly toward evening. Before leaving the meadow, Clara asked one final question. When you return home, what do you think you'll remember most? Emma thought about the hidden cove, the library, the gardener, Samuel's violin, the lighthouse bell, the great oak. She smiled. I don't think it'll be one place. What then? Emma looked across the peaceful meadow. I'll remember how it felt to stop trying to outrun my own life. Clara's eyes shone with quiet pride. Then the island has given you exactly it hoped. As they walked back toward the village, the fog had completely disappeared. The evening sky stretched endlessly above them, painted with shades of gold and soft blue. In the distance, the lighthouse stood glowing against the horizon. The bell didn't ring. It didn't need to. Today required no announcement. Some moments became important simply because they were fully lived. As the first stars appeared, Emma noticed something tucked into the pocket of her coat. She was sure it hadn't been there before. It was a tiny folded piece of paper. She opened it. Inside, written in elegant handwriting, were just 8 words. The island was never changing time, only you. She looked around. Clara was walking a few steps ahead, smiling gently toward the fading sunset. Emma folded the note carefully and placed it inside her notebook. For the first time since arriving, she wasn't wondering how many days she had left. She was simply grateful for the day she was living. And although she didn't yet know it, tomorrow would bring the most difficult lesson of all. Not about arriving, but about leaving.
Amma awoke before dawn on her final morning. She lay quietly beneath the soft quilt, listening to the familiar sounds that had become part of her heart. The gentle hush of the sea, the distant call of a gull, the whisper of the wind through the pine trees. Somewhere beyond the harbor, the lighthouse lantern slowly turned, sending its warm beam across the sleeping water. She knew this would be her last sunrise on Stillwater Isle. For the first time since arriving, she wished time would slow down. Then she smiled. It already had. Not the hours, not the minutes, only the way she had learned to live inside them. She dressed before the village awoke and stepped outside. The streets were empty. Morning mist drifted lazily between the cottages. Tiny drops of dew rested on every blade of grass, sparkling like scattered pearls. Emma walked without choosing a direction. She passed the bakery, where the first loaf of bread was rising quietly in its warm oven. She passed the library, where a single lamp glowed beside the window. She passed the garden, where flowers slowly opened to greet another day. Each place felt less like a destination now, and more like an old friend. Eventually, she found herself standing beside the harbor. The ferry had not yet arrived. The docks were peaceful. Fishing boats rocked gently with the tide. The sea stretched endlessly toward the horizon, glowing beneath the first light of morning. One by one, familiar faces appeared. The baker arrived, carrying a warm loaf wrapped in linen. "I thought you might like breakfast for the journey." Emma smiled. "Thank you." The gardener handed her a tiny cloth pouch filled with wildflower seeds. "They may not grow where you plant them." Emma laughed. "I suppose that's another lesson." The gardener winked. "Plant them anyway." Samuel stepped forward next. He carried no violin. Instead, he handed her a folded piece of blank sheet music. "The most beautiful songs," he said softly, "haven't been written yet." The librarian offered Emma a fresh journal. Its pages were completely empty. "This time," she whispered, "fill it with ordinary days." The old clockmaker placed his worn brass compass into Emma's hand. The needle never returned. Emma smiled. "I don't think it needed to." He nodded. "Neither do I." The woman from the hidden beach tucked one smooth white stone into Emma's coat pocket. "When life becomes noisy," she smiled gently, "hold this for a while." Elias, the lighthouse keeper, stepped forward last. In his hands rested the thick rope from the great bell. He carefully cut a small piece from its frayed end. "For remembrance," he said. Emma held the short length of weathered rope. It smelled faintly of salt and sea air. "Thank you." He shook his head. "No, thank you." Finally, Clara approached. She carried the tiny wooden box she had given Emma days before. "The empty one," Emma said with a smile. Clara nodded. "May I see it?" Emma handed it back. She opened the lid. She looked inside for several long moments. Then she smiled. "It's full." Emma laughed. "It still looks empty." "Only to your eyes." She closed the little box and returned it. "What did I put inside?" Clara looked toward the brightening horizon. Wonder, patience, stillness, gratitude, a slower heart. Emma looked down at the tiny box. She couldn't see any of those things, yet somehow she believed they were there. The distant sound of the ferry horn echoed across the bay. It was time. No one hurried, no one filled the moment with unnecessary words. They simply walked together toward the dock. The ferry gently touched the pier. The captain smiled as Emma stepped aboard. "Leaving already?" She nodded. "I think so." He smiled knowingly. "No." She looked at him. "You're only taking the next part of the journey." As the ferry slowly pulled away, the villagers stood together on the dock, not waving wildly, not shouting goodbyes, simply smiling. Emma watched until they became small figures against the shoreline. The lighthouse stood proudly above them. The bell remained silent. She wondered why. Then, just as the island began disappearing into the morning mist, dong, the great bell rang once. Its deep voice rolled across the sea. The captain quietly removed his hat. Passengers paused their conversations. Even the gulls seemed to glide more slowly for a moment. Emma closed her eyes. She understood. The bell wasn't saying goodbye. It was honoring a moment worth remembering. Hours later, the mainland came into view. The skyline rose above the water. Cars moved along crowded highways. Phones buzzed. People hurried across busy sidewalks. Everything looked exactly as she had left it, only she was different. She returned to her apartment that evening. The rooms were exactly the same. The furniture hadn't moved. Her inbox was overflowing. Her calendar remained full. But instead of opening her laptop immediately, she opened a window. Fresh air drifted inside. She made herself a cup of tea. She sat quietly without turning on the television. Outside, people rushed home beneath the city lights. Emma simply watched the sunset. The same sun, the same sky. She realized something beautiful. Stillwater Isle had never taught her to escape the world. It had taught her to see it. The weeks became months. Her life slowly changed, not dramatically, quietly. She left her phone in another room during dinner. She walked without headphones sometimes, simply listening to birds and the wind. She planted the wildflower seeds in a small wooden box outside her apartment window. Some grew, some didn't. She smiled either way. Every Sunday morning, she wrote one page in the journal the librarian had given her, not about extraordinary adventures, about ordinary moments. A stranger holding a door open, rain tapping against the glass, fresh bread from the neighborhood bakery. A conversation with an old friend, the first autumn leaf, the smell of coffee before sunrise, the laughter of children in a nearby park. She had learned that ordinary days were never truly ordinary. They were life itself. Years passed. Emma grew older. Her hair slowly silvered. Fine lines appeared around her eyes. But whenever life became hurried, whenever deadlines returned, whenever worry crept quietly into her thoughts, she opened the little wooden box. It always looked empty, and somehow it always reminded her of everything it held. Sometimes she held the smooth white stone. Sometimes she turned the compass without a needle in her hands. Sometimes she unfolded the blank sheet of music. Sometimes she simply sat in silence for 5 peaceful minutes. The island had become something she carried within her. One crisp autumn afternoon, many years later, a young woman sat across from Emma in a small city cafe. She looked exhausted. She stirred her coffee without drinking it. "I feel like my life is moving too fast," she whispered. Emma smiled. The words sounded strangely familiar. She reached into her bag and removed an old postcard. Its edges had become worn with time. She had carried it for years. Without saying anything, she handed it across the table. The young woman looked down and read the single handwritten sentence. "If life feels too fast, come find the island where nobody hurries." She looked up. "Is it a real place?" Emma gazed out the cafe window toward the busy streets beyond. She smiled, the same gentle smile Clara once given her. Then she answered, "Yes." She paused. "And no." The young woman laughed. "What does that mean?" Emma looked toward the evening sky where the first stars were beginning to appear above the city. "It means the island exists, but the journey doesn't begin when you arrive there." She placed one hand gently over her heart. "It begins the moment you decide to stop rushing through your own life." Far away, beyond the horizon, Stillwater Isle remained exactly as it had always been. The baker kneaded fresh bread before sunrise. The gardener waited patiently for every flower to bloom in its own season. The librarian added another quiet day to her collection. Samuel's violin filled the evening air with gentle melodies. The old clockmaker smiled as his clocks continued disagreeing peacefully. The remembering oak whispered softly to the wind. The hidden cove reflected the stars. The lighthouse watched faithfully over the sea. And every now and then, when someone paused long enough to notice the beauty already surrounding them, the great bell rang once, not to mark an hour, not to announce an event, but to celebrate something far more precious, a single human heart, remembering that life was never meant to be hurried. Thank you for taking this slow journey, and wherever you are, may tomorrow arrive just a little more gently than today. The end.